Would you like a Heath
Do we
bar?
want our timer yet, or do we want to start?
No.
Actually, wait. Where's my Heath bar? I have a
Heath bar. Wait a second. Go get your Heath bar. We're eating Heath bars because I'm on a new diet. My diet is a doctor-prescribed diet. Wait. Yes, the mic is not muted. I'm on a doctor.
Not like we've ever filmed an entire episode with the mic muted.
This is take number 2 with said mic muted. No, I'm on a doctor-prescribed Heath diet. It's supposed to give you enhanced vitality. In some games, vitality is the equivalent of wild stamina. So I don't know if you guys ever have fancied a Heath bar.
Also known as health.
I don't know if you guys have ever fancied a Heath bar while raiding, but apparently 4 Heath bars, you have to divide your age by the amount of hours in a day, and then that tells you the amount of minutes you have to wait in between Heath consumptions.
So you were putting Heath inside your body.
Oh, I hate you. I am intaking Heath because it gives me sustenance.
Protein?
I hate you. I hate you. Heath gives me the power to go on and on and on.
Would you call it inspiring?
It is very
uplifting?
inspiring. It is very uplifting. As a matter of fact, it's so scientifically accurate. No, help me out. Specific on the times that I have to
stir it.
You should probably stir it. That I have to. I have to actually monitor my Heath consumption. I have to monitor my Heath consumption. I have to intake X Heath per day. This is way wrong. I actually have a list for my. It was funny the first time. I have a list of Heath that I have to take in per day.
Did you put anything but Jaeger in this?
I put my Heath. I'm gonna write down.
Do you have a list of Heath?
I do have a list of Heath. It's actually more of a
ledger.
It's more of a ledger. It's Valentine's Day. I love my Heath ledger.
So you have a Heath ledger.
I do have a Heath ledger. I love my Heath ledger.
Is it too soon? I still have to ask if it's too soon.
It's way too soon. This was much funnier the first time when I talked about my Heath ledger, and he didn't know what I was going to talk about.
I have no idea.
And he was really funny because he found it funny. And let's get to the show.
Okay.
We'll welcome to timer. Welcome to Weapon.
No. Greetings and welcome to Noggenfoggered, episode 2.
Episode Peace.
Mm-hmm. Deuces. So
Deuces.
can I leave now? No, I guess not. All right. I'm Q.
I am a Menel. I am a Menel. And this is our second taping of episode 2. This is a 2. This is 2 squared. Episode 2 squared. We're going to name it 2 squared.
I like it.
I like it. 2 Mark II. Mark
you
II
only put Jaeger in
V2.
that. You only put Jaeger.
That is a cup of Jaeger with ice. It's kind of like okay, the belts that you have to wear that like stimulate, and you're like,
stupid shit for no reason.
Yes. What was that from?
Robin Williams, Robin Broadway.
Yes. Anyway,
I strapped to my forehead, and I'll repeat, "I'm not buying stupid shit for no reason."
So anyway, we have to get going because we have a lot of stuff to cover, and in the states that we are, and in the states that we will be upon finishing these drinks,
it's only going to degenerate.
It's only going to degenerate.
Not like Ellen DeGeneres.
We are degenerate.
It will degenerate.
We're degenerate.
We will become degenerates.
Degenerate. Yes.
Oh God, degenerate raiders.
Moving on.
We're done.
Moving on.
We're done.
Moving along.
We're done.
Moving along.
First
Intro. Point.
Hi.
That was the intro.
Yeah.
I love Heath
Second
Ledger.
point. For episode 2.
Heath Ledger was the greatest actor of the year 2009.
Episode 2. This is Noggenfoggered episode 2. It is a podcast. It is a weekly podcast which will cover the trials and tribulations of a small 10-man guild. That 10-man guild is about 40 ninjas.
About 40 ninjas.
I'm the GM.
Is that like approximately 40 inches?
It's approximately 40
It's about
ninjas.
40 inches.
This is my co-leader, Menel. And together we...
with our powers combined, we are the raid lead /
co-leader slash officer
slash tank slash healer of
everything that AFN is, pretty much.
Sure, absolutely.
We're the leaders. We are the organizers. We are the
organizationalists,
the driving force behind AFN.
Yes,
and this is our
basically
outlet. Our story. This is our story.
Yeah,
this is our story of AFN and what it is to lead and run and
a 10-man guild.
A 10-man guild in World of Warcraft Cataclysm. This expansion.
Cataclysm.
So,
Cataclysm.
Our first item on the agenda is rating.
Weekend rating.
Yeah.
We just finished our first night of raiding out of 2.
It was Wednesday night.
Our farm night. Mm-hmm. We cleared Hafiz. We got the 150% buff on him. That was cool.
Bosses. Yeah, that was cool.
Killing all the things up.
The ads.
The ads. That's what we call them in WoW. And getting 50% buff on Hafiz. That's pretty cool.
Your victory rushes were hitting somewhere in the area of
108k or so when you kill a drake. That's pretty cool.
So dumb.
Awesome. If only the health regen scaled off of that.
I know, right?
Like a lay on hands. Be like we did the drakes, the drake twins, the dragon twins, whatever you have. That was cool.
Little growing pains there, but we'll address that in a bit.
Little growing pains there, but we'll address that in a bit. Then we went to Baron Hold, actually.
Yep. Knocked that out.
Thank you, Skywall Alliance peoples, for obtaining Baron Hold between the time we were in Bastion of Twilight and Blackwing Descent, Lair, MC,
Spire,
Molten Core, Spire, Upper Lower,
Blackrock,
Descent Lair. Thank you for doing all that in between. Then we went to Blackwing Descent, BWD, knocked out Magma
and ODS.
And really, we had good loot all night long.
We had new loot. It was not necessarily good loot, but we had new loot.
Because
was nice.
Well, we have 3 enchanters in the guild, so we like to give them turns to disenchant things.
I know, right?
We actually had no disenchanters tonight, /enchanters. So we had to make do with the loot given. And Maelstrom Crystals... Who needs Maelstrom Crystals at this point?
Yeah, they're only worth like 6,000 gold.
Or more. Who knows?
Whatever.
We don't know because we don't have any. It's okay. We don't need them. But we don't need Maelstrom Crystals. One to buy, one walker.
But anyways, we were able to kill 4 bosses. We wanted to kill 5.
Really, we did 5 with Algoloth.
Yeah, we don't count Baron Hold. It's kind of a whatever. We wanted to get Maloriak. We did that. Those are just some failed purges.
Some failed purges. Some fail interrupts. Maybe a little growing pains.
Maybe a little girlfriend.
Maybe a little girlfriend aggro.
Hope she's hot. Hope she watches this and she's like, "Oh wow, you guys are bastards."
Yeah,
that's all right. Sorry,
you got pics. It's okay. You got pics on your cell phone.
Pics on my cell phone. Pics.
But moving along.
Moving on. That was our weekend rating.
So what's looking ahead next
we still have one more night of rating, and that will be our progression night, as it were. We're going to be working on Atramedes, the Blind Dragon.
Because the goal every week is to kill a new boss. Is that pretty much the goal?
I think that's a pretty good goal.
It's a good goal. Might be lofty as we kill Atramedes, because that's the last, maybe council.
Easy-ish fight. But, let's leave that as it is.
Absolutely.
As of yet, we have yet to kill Atramedes, and that will be our goal for raiding tomorrow night.
Yes.
Atramedes is the Blind Dragon. It is a very unique encounter based entirely on sound. It's a new mechanic. It's a mechanic that Blizzard introduced with this encounter.
It's a person who has not worked on cars for very long.
What?
It's a new mechanic.
New
mechanic.
Got it. That was even worse than your Heath Ledger. It's a new mechanic that Blizzard has introduced. Each individual in the encounter has a sound bar. His various abilities are not dragon-like in any way. It's down here.
It is down here actually on your screen.
His abilities are all based on sound. He's a blind dragon, so has no sense of sight, no perception.
Very much like a bat, he uses sonar.
Indeed.
Maybe he's a vampire dragon.
Vampires don't use sonar. Vampire bats use sonar.
Vampire bats use sonar.
Vampires have extremely good sight.
Yeah, that's true.
Better dim light sight than
that's true.
Do.
If we shine light on him, would he glitter?
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't glitter. Screw Twilight. Some bull. We need to go read an Anne Rice novel. But the encounter is based on sound. Each individual has a sound meter, which records their accumulated sound, and throughout the encounter, all of his abilities are based on sonic waves. Should you happen to get to 100 sound, full sound,
that's good. And you win the game.
It is terrible. It means that the boss then is able to track you and locate you, and he will kill you.
Well, absolutely.
He will just straight kill you. He has an ability, I believe it's called Extermination.
Maybe called Termination.
One of those things. It's a secondary aggro fire attack that has splash damage and will kill you.
Looks like a fireball. It hits about every 2 seconds.
It will
1.5 seconds, 2 seconds for about 25k.
The important thing is it will kill you.
It will kill you.
That's really all that matters.
It will kill you before they can heal you.
You don't want to get to 100 sound. To prevent that, there are gongs surrounding the room. Each gong, when it is hit, will reset every raid member's sound to 0.
The tank spot guide on this fight is actually pretty accurate, pretty good.
Yes, Aliana does a fantastic job of explaining
this one.
Yeah, it's Aliana. She does all the new tank spot guides.
The one dude does it.
No, Aliana does the tank
dude that did the
it has the stupid drawings. It has the Rukia drawings.
Oh,
it's Aliana.
It's the Rukia drawings.
It's Aliana.
Aliana, I hope you do the Rukia drawings.
Because she would somehow make them better.
We should put that up there right now. Aliana, Rukia, greatest draw.
Anyways, if you don't watch Bleach, you probably won't understand the reference. Bleach isn't an anime.
Haruno watches Bleach.
Haruno won't understand the reference. But anyways, Archimedes is an encounter based very much upon
raid awareness.
Raid awareness, much like many of the Kata encounters.
Getting out of the way of things.
This tier is
running from things.
Is very raid focused. You need to ensure that you are doing the right things because of the change. The healing. It is no longer just do as much damage as you possibly can. You'll get healed through whatever.
Well, how many fights in this tiered content is it that you can just stumble along through and people can carry you through?
No.
In almost every single encounter in this tier,
each raid member has to be smart. Each raid member has to contribute to their role.
If any one given raid member fails and either dies or does the wrong thing. Let's take Magmal tonight. Magmal is the first boss, or I guess one of the first two, in one of the in the first raid. Well, in one of the first raids, and we had a situation tonight where one of our raid members
disconnected,
jumped the gun.
Oh yeah,
just slightly
jumped the gun.
Just slightly jumped the gun.
Moved before it was
necessary, and
it jacked up our whole attempt.
It jacked up the whole attempt. I mean, no big deal. We recovered in the next attempt. We destroyed it and got the meta achievement.
Yeah.
Congrats, guys.
Yeah. But everyone needs to be on the same page. I mean, it's not to the extent of hardcore content where everyone has to be so extremely focused that one even minor mistake will wipe everything. But it is definitely to the point where everyone needs to be on the same page. Everyone needs to be focused. Everyone needs to be paying attention.
There's only so much people can carry through now.
Yeah,
can be carried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the minor things really matter anymore.
Absolutely.
Your cooldowns, your survivability talents, things like that.
Survivability talents really are huge, and I think that min-max specs are kind of a thing of the past.
Yeah. Well, not only because they've changed the talent trees, but just because of the nature of raiding. It's not just damage.
I know there's a few specs or a few talents in prot that I pick up that are kind of min-max or go against the grain of min-max. That a traditional tank, if you guys armoried me, might think, "Oh my God, why don't you pick this up? That's ridiculous." But really, favor my play style and keep me alive. I know that if I was a lock, there are a lot of things that I would pick up that.
Not that you've ever played a lock.
Not that I ever played a lock. I know if I was a lock right now, there's some things that I would pick up that a lot of people would be like, "Oh my God, that's ridiculous." But if it keeps you alive, it keeps you alive. And a dead player, scientifically proven,
there's no damage.
A dead player does less damage than a person alive.
And healing.
And tanking, for that matter. So yeah, that's the weekend rating.
That's AFN's weekend rating.
That's AFN's weekend rating. Some good attempts on. Actually, we'll hopefully put some good attempts in and kill.
We had good attempts on Atromedes last week on Thursday. We got him to about 50%.
About 50%.
Really,
no reason we shouldn't kill him this week.
Yeah, we should get a kill this week. We should be able to report it next week.
Maybe take some episode looks at
Nefarian. Yeah, we should have some attempts on Nefarian. Not real attempts, but a look at.
But some looks at. Some looks at.
Not some serious attempts. The reason we're not going to have any serious attempts
is
it brings us to our next point.
Okay, why are we not going to have any serious attempts in the period?
We had to switch up a lot of things this week.
Switching up.
One of our raiders, one of our tanks actually had to step down for an indefinite period of time. He's got some stuff going on outside of game that
would be the IRL.
Was unmitigatable, as it were.
Yeah.
And he had to deal with those before
he actually hit him through his bubble.
Before he could return. It happened to be one of our tanks, our pally tank.
Good friend for a long time.
We had to juggle our raiders to fill that spot. What we ended up doing was we were running with 2 hunters, Sheetard and Camille, both good friends. Sheetard happened to run a DK alt.
Both who have alt tanks.
We did not have a DK in our 10-man.
We do not.
So we asked him if he would be all right with swapping to a tanking role, and we ran from there.
Yeah. Want to sell tank. Blocks.
So we made that change, and we pushed forward. Like we said tonight, there were some growing pains on the Dragon Twins. There were some growing pains on Maloriak a little bit. But generally speaking, I mean, I would say he performed admirably given the circumstances.
For the first time seeing this content as a whole different role, I mean, not only are you going from range to melee, you're going from range to tanking role.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a very different look at things.
It's a different look at things. Did you just say look at?
No. I said look at.
We
were missing look at
things.
Was our friend who had to step down. He was our pally tank. He was a great guy.
We love you. Look at. Come back soon.
Come back soon. We hope everything gets worked out to the best.
To the best of all abilities.
Should you need anything, you know where we are.
Absolutely.
Happy to help.
But
yeah, we needed to adjust, and we did. We adjusted and we overcame, and we're going to push on. And really, we should still get a new kill this week.
Well, I mean, we really are. There's a deep down drive. We're driven to conquer.
No, we're not driven to conquer.
No, we're not driven to conquer.
I used to be driven to conquer
for a very short time.
Server first kill. What?
Bosh.
Then I broke them up. What?
I might edit that out. That's terrible.
Moving on.
Anyway, moving right along.
That's the drink talking. We're going to move from AFN rating to this week in rating.
This week in rating.
And
in WoW.
Blizzard has done a lot of things this week.
It's a very interesting week.
4.06a was released.
Huge patch
on Friday.
Huge patch.
Last Friday.
The first class changes since
Kata was released. A lot of balancing, a lot of changes, a
lot of balanced druiding. Dude, balanced druids are OP right now.
Balanced druids have been OP for quite some time.
Yeah, and the Shadow Priests are OP too, but we don't have any of those.
Such is the way.
Yeah.
But anyways, a lot of serious changes. If you'd like to be a little more specific as far as the class notes go, please check out mmochampion.com. It is probably your best source for blue posts.
We'll put it down here. mmos-champion.com.
Probably your best source for blue posts, as well as the patch notes and the hot fixes that Blizzard has implemented. Resto Shaman, your time has finally come. They're buffing your purification from 10 to 25%. Nice 15% bonus just to your base healing.
Sure, Haruto will like that.
So we're hoping that you guys are brought up in line with some of the other healers. But yeah, that is the week in WoW, and there have been a lot of changes. We'd like to cover them a little more in detail.
So if I kept talking right now, would you have a chance to interrupt me? But you can't because you're a paladin. Oh wait!
I would rebuke you. I would kick you.
Paladins now
have an interrupt all three specs.
It's
fantastic.
It's amazing.
That's what I did most of my time at Halfus.
Exciting and dynamic.
Your main tank healer was also your main interrupter. It's good time,
good
games. Make sure you put a stop cast macro in for your interrupt.
That would be a GG's.
But that brings us to our final point, which is actually tying back to our second point.
What or who is this?
Raid composition.
And what does it mean to me?
What does it mean to put forth a successful raid?
I think first you must define what is a successful raid.
For us, a successful raid is clearing content. For us, a successful raid
having a good time.
It's having a good time, but
ensuring
it is definitely focused on gathering our friends and clearing content. To be sure, the gathering of our friends is actually was premeditated far before we ever put any things back together. We had to ensure that we had a raid composition that would actually work. Raid composition now involves 2 tanks.
2 tanks.
3 healers.
1.5 tank.
No, 2 tanks.
2 tanks.
3 healers. 5 DPS. As opposed to the old content where one of those DPS had to be an off-spec DPS, it now seems to be the tank has to be an off-spec DPS.
Yeah.
There are no 2 healer encounters
There really
anymore.
are no 2 healer encounters anymore.
With the single exception of Baron and Hold.
Absolutely.
That's the only exception. Really, that's
Which
not,
really you could probably do with 3
really
healers anyway.
is. But why would you?
I'm just saying.
You could, but why would you?
If you brought 2 tanks, you would still get screwed on the fact that you have 2 tanks. We could have talked about that
For a lot of the fights.
Yeah. A lot of the fights.
Yeah, it's 2 tanks, 1 with an off-spec DPS, 3 healers, and 5 DPS.
It kind of goes page homage to Blizzard's whole, dual spec mechanic and the ability to give people, the option to play, to have 2 different roles that he can do on the fly.
Right, because I read DPS during raid all the time.
You do on BO, Baron and Hold. Yeah. I know that I go Fury a lot during raid.
That's true. Well, you play DPS more than I do.
I play DPS a good third of the time. Yeah, and it's pretty exciting and dynamic.
But for raid composition, that's what you're looking at. To break it down a little more specifically, like we said, we're going to need a tank with an off-spec DPS because a lot of the encounters are solo tank encounters. Your 3 healers are pretty much going to be your 3 healers. You can't really get around that right now at this point in the content and the gear. I'm not saying that content cannot be 2 healed, but it would require a pretty exceptional pair of healers with an extraordinary amount of gear for this level of content.
Probably the right classes as well. If you were going to say 2 classes could do it, you'd probably be looking at maybe
Paladin and Shaman, maybe a Paladin and Priest.
Maybe a Paladin Priest. I think a Paladin, like a Disc Priest, maybe would be your best call.
Really, you'd be your Pally for just straight healing, and your Disc Priest for just
mitigation.
Damage mitigation.
Probably like your Pally, maybe only on the fights too, that the Pally could beacon like a solo tank, and your Disc Priest would just, and heal.
Like your Magma.
Like your Magma.
Your Dragon Twins would be dicey.
That would be rough.
Dragon Pins
There's a lot of AoE damage. But yeah, anyway, for the most part,
it's 3 healers.
It's 3 healers and 2 tanks, and 1 tank sometimes.
And that's raid composition. And to break it down a little further,
buffs are a little less important
than they used to be. Because multi-classes bring them. Your DPS is generally speaking going to be 1, maybe 2 melee, and then 3 ranged.
Why the avoidance of the melee?
Blizzard encounters in general have never favored melee players. There are AoE effects to contend with. There are ground effects to contend with. There are boss cleaves. There are tail swipes. Fears.
What's that dude's name? That did the whole Taylor Swift thing?
Taylor Swift?
Yeah, at the music awards or something.
I have no idea.
Blah blah blah, man! But this is the greatest person of all time.
Lil Wayne?
No. I'm really happy for you. I'm let you finish.
Lil something?
No. He sang the one song about shit. I'm gonna interrupt you right now, but blah blah blah.
Taylor Swift.
Is the greatest person of all time. That guy plays melee.
I have no idea what you're
because he can interrupt.
It would.
I'm not gonna interrupt you right now.
You're referencing pop culture, and you don't know enough about pop culture to reference it. Whatever.
Dude said interrupt. He plays melee.
I know who you're talking about. I think it was little.
No.
It was little something.
It's not little anything. It's like a guy that sings about
rapper dude something.
Sings about Jesus.
Whatever.
There's a song about Jesus that he sings about.
Whatever.
I'm telling you.
We're gonna edit shit. This is recorded.
It's gonna edit out.
Absolutely nothing. I don't know where we were. Raid composition. Range versus melee.
Range versus melee.
Your melee is generally not favored because of the fact that they take more damage. It's easier to avoid things as ranged. A lot of bosses have cleaves. A lot of bosses will have a tail effect of some sort. A lot of bosses will have a ground mechanic
chain lightning
that will be put near the boss. For example, Atromedius.
Fire?
Atromedius has 4 sonic pulses that spawn on the boss itself. If you're melee, you have less time to react to that. If you get hit by all 4, it's going to dramatically jump up your sound meter, increasing your chances of hitting the cap and dying. And that's really not what you want to do, because that leaves your entire raid short-handed. Now, not only do you have to burn your battle res to get that person up, but then your battle res is done for the rest of the encounter. And you can't, if someone should happen to get caught by his sonic breath in the air, or anything else, it's already gone, because you had to res a melee member because they were just jacked by the mechanics.
True.
So really, at best, you're going to want 1, maybe 2 melee. We run with 2 melee. We usually run with a Fury Warrior and an Enhancement Shaman. On occasion, Menel, our second tank, our first tank, whatever, one of our 2 tanks, will spec Fury and DPS. For example, Magma, the Dragon Twins, anything that is a solo tank encounter, he will be our DPS character.
Single Mind of Fury is Beast right now.
Single Mind of Fury is Beast. You do
Beast.
You do good damage.
Beast.
I don't want to say you do better damage than I would, but I'm a healer and I sadly can't really be
My
the
Warlock
best.
would.
Your Warlock would. But your Warlock is not part of our standard 10-man encounters. But that's neither here nor there. So, moving on as far as raid invites go and raid composition, you want to make sure you have your big buffs covered, and you want to make sure that you maintain a solid raid composition.
What's the minimum big buffs?
You want to have your 5% stats.
Little king / mark.
Which is either your kings, which comes from Pally, or your Mark of the Wild, comes from a druid. You want to have your
Is Fort big buff? Fort / commanding?
Fort / commanding is a big buff. You're either going to get it from a priest, or you're going to get it from a warrior.
How much greater is Fort than commanding?
Well, basically you're relying on a 4-minute cooldown versus a 60-minute cooldown. A priest will provide buff,
4-minute
the buff of
lift.
Fort, for 60 minutes, as well as Shadow, which is nice for a lot of encounters. A lot of encounters are shadow-based.
Well, a lot of our fears are shadow-based. A lot of people don't realize fears are shadow-based.
Fears are shadow. Really, any dark magic is shadow-based.
It really is.
Any fear, any shadow bolt, any chaos bolt, any of that stuff. Chaos bolt hits for fire, but it's shadow-based damage.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Well, it usually does whichever the lower the resistance.
Yeah.
But that's on the lock.
but it's based on your
Any
shadow
boss's
resist.
chaos bolt. Fuck it.
Yeah, no,
We'll do it live.
But you have your fort buff, and you have your 10% attack power buff,
Yep.
which is brought by a lot of classes. Hunters can
Is it
bring
still 10% now?
It's 10%.
Holy cow.
Hunters can bring it. DKs, can bring it.
Shaman can bring it? No.
No. Yeah, Shaman can bring
Yeah.
it.
The
Enhancement
fucking,
Shaman, Unleash Rage.
Unleash Rage.
Enhancement Shaman can bring it, and of course your Pally buff. Pally buff of Might provides 10% attack power and a mana per 5. It's the only mana per 5 buff left in the game.
No.
Since everyone's a spirit.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Warlocks.
True. Your
Fell Hunter.
Fel
Hunter.
Intellect, what it's
Yeah.
called.
Like,
Fel Intellect. It provides. It's actually Fel Intellect is a very interesting buff.
It's
It
a very
provides
interesting
half of the Pally buff and half of the Mage buff.
so if you don't have a Pally or, well,
Even a Pally or a Mage, a Warlock who rocks a Fel Hunter will provide you both.
that's right.
It's a mana
However, since
increase.
so many warlocks are favoring Destro at the moment, which they should. Cairo, Destro, Plox. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
Indeed.
That's really the big buffs. I mean, there are some other inconsequential buffs.
Not inconsequential, but they're covered by so many different classes.
Yeah.
Your spell increase class. I'm sorry, as I was. Your
You're
spell
looking at
increase
a
buff.
warlock, you're looking at a mage.
Warlock doesn't increase spell haste.
Oh, I thought you said power.
No. Your spell haste is either Balanced Druid, Shadow Priest, or any spec of Shaman. Any spec of Shaman can drop a
Air.
Wrath of Air totem, which will increase your spell haste by 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Your melee haste can be covered by a Hunter,
Frosty K.
Frosty K, or again a Shaman.
And Shaman. Shamans can do
Totems.
fucking everything.
Shamans can do just about it,
Except for heal well. Or DPS well. Or tank
I
well.
was to say our Shaman can
Oh,
DPS
that's
pretty
true.
well.
Well, sometimes.
Now that Guffey, now that we fixed you, your DPS.
I heard that
admirable.
when you stack your lava maelstrom weapon, you should probably lightning bolt as Ellie or enhance rather. No,
It's okay. It's fixed now.
he's good. He's good.
He does very, very comparable numbers, very competitive numbers.
Very competitive numbers to a tank that's tanking all of the ads on halves.
Just because you can do 30k DPS doesn't mean you do 30k DPS on all the bosses.
That's true.
But anyways, that's raid composition. Really, you want to make sure that you have a raid that will succeed. You want to make sure that you fulfill all the roles that you need. Really, like we said, we're going to look at 2 tanks. We're going to look at maybe 2 melee, 3 ranged, and 3 healers.
Yeah.
And that's going to be your optimal setup for just about every encounter that we've seen so far. We know that Paragon ran into a
Melee issue.
I don't want to say it was a bug, but they definitely ran into an issue with melee. They made a post about it.
What a bug! It just melee is generally not as preferred.
No,
and I don't know
not.
what they can do besides maybe make the hitboxes larger.
I mean, really, melee. The reason you bring melee is for interrupts. That is the strongest argument that you can make for melee, is they have consistent and quick interrupts. I mean, think about counterspell. 24 seconds.
Is it really 24 seconds?
24 seconds.
Holy
Even
cow.
a Shadowprow's silence, you have to spec for. That's 20 seconds.
Fellhunter's
I
like
want to say the Hunter...
18?
The Hunter one is 20 seconds. And again, you have to spec for that. You have to be marks to get it.
How fast is your new Paladin one? 10?
10 seconds, but it's melee.
As Product's 12.
It's a melee.
I don't know what it is. I don't know
The
what Hummel is.
only
Hummel is
ranged
8.
interrupt that
10?
is quick is a Shaman. Wind Seer.
Sheer.
Sheer.
Seer?
Sheer.
Sheer.
You're right. It's Wind Sheer. Is 8 seconds as a
US.
Resto Shaman. Is 6 seconds as a
It just
Resto
shows your,
Shaman.
but it cripples
Shows
your
your-
shock cooldown. How much does that hurt your shock DPS? Your enhanced DPS?
Really, most of your DPS is going to come from your Lightning Bolt and your Lava Lash. Your shock DPS, yeah, is it a hit? Is it a dramatic hit? No. If you ask a Shaman to interrupt, it should be done every single time.
How about Purge?
Purge doesn't affect your DPS. It's a global cooldown.
So how much should
It's
Maloric,
not on- it's not-
how much should Maloric really heal?
The only thing about Purge is it is not it is off the global cooldown. You have to waste a global cooldown to get your Purge. So if he had just triggered an ability, Maloric is going to get a heal or two off on the remedy before he can Purge. I mean that is true. Unlike your interrupts, your
It's
Purge
on the global
is still,
cooldown?
it is on your global cooldown.
Really?
Yes, Purge
That
is
is
on
just
your global cooldown.
ridiculous.
Well, it's PvP purposes.
No, true story.
It's PvP purposes. I mean, I know that for a fact. It's PvP purposes. That's why Purge is still on global cooldown. And the nerf Purge for PvP. He used to remove 2 buffs. Now he removes 1.
That is obnoxious.
No, I mean it makes sense. I mean, I used to play a Shaman. I played a Shaman for a very long time. I played it at a very high level, and I PvP'd with an extraordinary warrior. I was able to attain the title of rival. Whatever's once. We
Yeah.
missed Gladiator by like 0.02% or something stupid. We almost
Rival.
had Gladiator. But I was able to attain rival not because I had some extraordinary skill in PvP. I happened to be grouped with probably the best warrior I've ever seen for PvP.
So you're saying that season you were not glad.
I was not glad.
You were not glad at
Nope.
the end.
I was very glad to get rival. I was not gladiator.
You were not glad.
I was
though.
not Russell Crowe. I was
You would
not
have been.
Russell
You would
Crowe.
have been glad.
I was not entertained.
You would have been glad.
I was not entertained. Were you entertained? I was not entertained.
I was entertained listening to you occasionally.
Dude, you were usually in bed because he was on
I was working
Australian
early.
time.
Yeah. Screw Australia, drop bears.
But yeah. That's raid composition. That is AFN on the week. We're looking forward to an Asher Medes kill next week. Tomorrow night.
Maybe looking at a little bit of Neff, just a Neff.
Yeah, we hope to give you a preview of Neff.
Just
nothing
Neff.
serious, but just a look at the encounter.
Just a Neff. And that's pretty much it for this week.
Do you got anything else? I mean, I think we did a pretty good job covering what was going on.
This is maybe not as good as the episode that we were fail on, and it had no audio because we left the mic on mute and therefore drank more and re-recorded.
Yeah, this is now an entire drink later. Another one of those. Which, in case anyone's curious,
Which is like number 3 or
this
4.
is the stem of the glass. The Jaeger went up to here. It was this little wee bit of Red Bull. Or no, we were at a Red Bull.
This is that
Wee little bit of Dr. Pepper
possibly.
and some ice. And that was it. That was our drink. That's what we were drinking. To that end, I think we will bid you all adieu.
Oh. Any questions, feel free to be
yes.
sent to Noggenfoggered at gmail.com.
And or
at the forums
at
afn.skywell.com.
Web.
afn.wowstead.com.
.com. Or should you happen to watch this video on YouTube?
Dude, we should get Twitters. We should tweet.
What's actually going to do?
I have a tweet. It's Twellet, but
I don't have a Twitter account. I should get a Twitter
we
account.
should do like AFN Menel and Q Menel. Or
No, not
Lol.
Cubanel. We are not joined. We are
our powers
roommates.
combined. We are Twitter Cubanel at
We
twitter.com.
might next week have Twitter accounts we can link. But for now,
Dude, who has Twitter Manel or never mind.
for now, leave us emails on noggenfoggered@gmail.com, on our forums at afn.wowstat.com.
Yes.
Or just leave a comment on our YouTube video. We'll be happy to respond with just about any and all questions,
issues,
concerns,
and conundrums.
And really, until that point, until next week, I believe we'll bid you adieu if you have nothing else, Menel.
There will be much bidding adieu, and much working in the morning.
Very well. In that case, cheers. Raid well.
Raid well.